Well, gracious greetings, Saints, Stephen family, and guests. Welcome to another edition of Living Water for a Thirsty Thursday. We've been talking about frustration, anxiety, anger, getting to that last nerve, all of those things. And today, I kind of want to put a bow around it and looking at Jesus yet again to see if he can be an example of how we can express our frustration, how we can deal with our frustration, then more importantly, how it should land on others. The text that I want to read is probably a familiar passage where a lot of people have speculated that Jesus was angry or frustrated or some point of anxiety. And it comes from Matthew, the 21st chapter, and it starts at the 12th verse. And it says, "And Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple first, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased. And said unto him, Hearest thou what these say? And Jesus said unto them, Yes, have you never read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings thou hast perfected praise. And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there." I know there's a lot of verses there, and you've probably read this story before. And most theologians believe that Jesus had some level of frustration or anger towards the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and even those that were selling in the temple. And so I know a lot of you know the context of that, whether it was selling doves or exchanging money or whatever. There was business being done around the periphery or the exterior or the outer court of the church in preparation to go into the church. But it had gotten to this place, much like it happens with other churches even today. There was so much going on outside and around the sanctuary that people weren't even really coming into the sanctuary. And more importantly, the activity outside and around the sanctuary started having more prominence and importance, especially in the area of making money, influence, and power, that it was usurping the experience that was supposed to happen even in the sanctuary. And so if you are God and this is your temple, this is where your people are to come and worship you, of course, this would be a concern for our Messiah. This would be a concern for Jesus. This would be a concern for people. And I think that's it. This is one reason why we have anxiety, why we have frustration, is because something that we have witnessed and seen has really gone in a way or direction that we did not anticipate, nor did we in any way validate. And so we want that changed. Well, the change isn't the issue as much. It's when we have this frustration or this anger, it's how we respond and how we act. And Jesus gives us a pattern here that I think is important. What we don't see in this text is Jesus going around murmuring and complaining about the issue. What we don't see is Jesus doing something passively to other people to show these people that are really doing what's wrong. This is the problem. What Jesus does, Jesus went into the temple of God, and he says, and he cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, meaning the people that were doing wrong. He walked right up to them and said, You are doing wrong. And then after that, this is where most theologians believe there was some anger or some discontent flying out, because he overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sat and sold the doves for offerings, which, when you catch that part, sold the doves, obviously it's speaking to those that are of less affluence, because of course, if you had money to have a ram or a bull or something of that stature, you would have much more money and more means. And so this is actually speaking to those that are a little bit more challenged financially, right? The indigent. And so Jesus is recognizing that. But then it says, and said unto them, so he didn't just cast them out, he didn't just put them out, but he actually gave them a biblical lesson. He said, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And so it wasn't just that the selling was going on. It was the profits that were being made, the focus that was being taken away from the temple. And so it was literally profit over prayer. And Jesus says, this has to be fixed. And the flipping over of the tables was literally to show how egregious this act is, that this doesn't even need to be here for us to have worship, because your hearts aren't in the right place. And then look, it says, and the blind and the lame came to him in the temple. The blind and the lame people came to him, being Jesus. And it says, and he healed them. And so the whole point is, again, a lot of these people that were more indigent, couldn't take care of themselves, would look to others to help them along their journey, whether they're lame or blind or any other calamity they may have in their life. That is what Jesus said is the temple is really all about, not taking their last dime, not exploiting them and all of those things. But the point I hope you're hearing is Jesus was obviously upset, but there was a way that he went about it. And so even when that was going on, Jesus turned around and kept his eye on the real mission. And it says he healed the blind and the lame. And I think that's powerful and that's significant, because sometimes when we're angry and when we're frustrated, and even when we deal with whoever we are angry and frustrated with, when the person comes along that we are there to help, or that we do care about, or that is special in our lives, we even treat them some kind of way because it's still lingering over, and we don't have that compartmentalization where we can target our frustration and anger over here in a very constructive way and deal with it. And at the same time, pivot over here and give that love and concern and healing for the blind and the lame. And then it continues in verse 15. And when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things, right, that the blind and the lame had been healed, they saw the wonderful things that he did, being Jesus, and the children, get this, the children crying in the temple, the kids are crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. And we know Hosanna means Lord, save us. And in essence, they're crying, saying, Lord, thank you for saving us. Thank you for coming in and fixing this. Thank you for making this better. But what's amazing, it's not the Pharisees, it's not the Sadducees, it's not the priests, it's not the other church folks. It's the children that were crying and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. And then the ending says they were sore displeased, talking about those same chief priests and scribes, and probably even those that got kicked out of the temple and their money changers turned over. And then Jesus moves to that after they say that, and he said unto them, hearest thou what these said? And he's talking about the children. And Jesus said unto them, yes, have you never read from the Old Testament, out of the mouth of babes, that's Psalms, right? 8:2, Psalm 8:2. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings, thou hast perfected praise. It is the babies, it is the young people that can recognize what God is doing more so than these elders. And not only babes as in children, but even babes that are in Christ. Those that are just walking in can immediately see that, man, there's something wrong with this picture and it needs to be corrected. And it says, and he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there, right? And then he removed himself from that situation and in essence recollected himself, decompressed, and move forward. But prayerfully, you can see that the issue isn't that we get frustrated. The issue isn't that we are angry. The issue isn't feelings. The issue is, how do we deal with those feelings? How do we react and how do we respond with those feelings? Because feelings are going to come up, and we're going to get tired. We're going to get angry. We're also going to get happy. We're also going to be sad. But the real issue is, what will I do with those feelings? And what we have to do, which is so critically important, is always put our faith above the feelings or the facts or even fears that we may have in our life. And that is how we can start to overcome the anxiety and the frustration when we don't laser in on the facts that are bothering us so bad, that we don't laser in on our fears about what can be taken away from what's going on. And, when we have our feelings involved, we got to be careful. And we have to recognize, this is me, and I need to walk this back and allow my faith to really be in charge of this response or this reaction. And that's exactly what Jesus did. Some of you may be saying, maybe it was too much to put them out and to flip over the money changers. It was too dramatic to go that far. But how long had it been going on? And how egregious was it that this is going on in the church, in the temple? Or how serious is it that our churches are more focused on ourselves than we are on the mission? How many churches are focused on making church comfortable for the members and not for those non-church members? Yeah, I think that's exactly what God is driving towards when he allows Jesus Christ to go through this. And so sometimes frustration is allowed in our life just so that God can show himself strong, that he can even overcome your and my emotions for his glory and for his honor. And prayerfully, this has served you a little bit in how to deal with those frustrations and anxieties that we have, and knowing that even our Messiah had very similar challenges. Well, next week we want to continue on this journey as we are moving close to the Lenten season. Ash Wednesday this year is actually on Valentine's Day. And just want to raise a question. I'm a Christian. Should Lent matter to me or not? Well, continue to make God proud in all you say, think, and do.